Yeah, actually, my tax policy, they created the greatest, strongest economy in the history of our country, probably in the history of the world. We had the strongest economy that we've ever had by far. And all Biden did was pick up on it, but he ruined it because he screwed up energy so badly that inflation went crazy. And now inflation's through the roof. They can't lower interest rates because if they do, you're going to drive up inflation to levels that nobody's ever seen before. We have among the highest inflation we've ever had. We've never had inflation like this, and it's sticking. It's not going down at all. Where bacon and food products are costing double and triple what they were just a few years ago, where gasoline, energy is way up and going up. If you notice over the last couple of weeks, gasoline and just fuel oil generally, but gasoline has gone way up.
A poll this week shows Americans trust Mr. Trump over the president on the economy and inflation by double digits, while 2/3 of Americans say they're living paycheck to paycheck.
We've seen a slew of polls now that show that Americans, many of them, a majority of them, think that the economy was better under Trump than under Biden. And what the White House has been arguing for some time now is that that is not true by many measures. Certainly inflation is higher now than it was under Trump and before the pandemic.
But 2/3 of voters think the economy was better under President Trump.
Well, that's just not the case, and we have to do a better job of laying out the facts that the economy has dramatically improved under the leadership of President Joe Biden.
But if those are the facts, why don't voters believe it? Is that a communication problem?
Voters understand that more needs to be done, that there are challenges that remain.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We got to talk about the reality denying Democrats, or better yet, just the lying Democrats, okay? Because they're just lying at this point. They're not just denying reality, they're just lying, okay? Because they are being confronted by the mainstream liberal media on the fact that the economy is not in great shape. In fact, most people feel like the economy under Trump was much better than the economy under Joe Biden. And the Democrats, instead of just acknowledging reality, which is what voters want Democrats to do, by the way, right? One of the things that voters are frustrated with, even Democrat voters, is the fact that they feel like the Democrat Party is gaslighting them when it comes to reality, okay? They tell us that the border is closed even though it's open. They tell us that crime is down even though it's up. And of course, they tell us that the economy is great. It's amazing, even though it's not. It's pretty bad, okay? And it's so bad that even the liberal media is acknowledging reality, and they're confronting the Democrats with this reality. As you guys saw at the beginning of this video, you had CBS confronting Hakeem Jeffries on the economy, and he says, well, that's just not the case. It's just not the case that the Trump economy is better than the Biden economy, even though that most certainly is the case. And CNN confronted Joe Biden on reality, and just like Hakeem Jeffries, Biden denies reality. Take a look.
So when you talk about the economy, of course, it is by far the most important issue for voters. It's also true right now, Mr. President, that voters by a wide margin trust Trump more on the economy. They say that in polls. And part of the reason for that may be the numbers. And you're aware of many of these, of course. The cost of buying a home in the United States is double what it was when you look at your monthly costs from before the pandemic. Real income, when you account for inflation, is actually down since you took office. Economic growth last week, far short of expectations. Consumer confidence, maybe no surprise, is near a 2-year low. With less than 6 months to go to Election Day, are you worried that you're running out of time to turn that around?
We've already turned it around. Look at the Michigan survey. For 65% of American people think they're in good shape economically. They think the nation's not in good shape, but they're personally in good shape. The polling data has been wrong all along. You know, how many, you guys do a poll with CNN, how many folks you have to call to get one response? The idea that we're in a situation where things are so bad, the folks that, I mean, we've created more jobs. We're in a situation where people have access to good paying jobs. And the last I saw, the combination of the inflation, the cost of inflation and all those things, that's really worrisome to people with good reason. That's why I'm working very hard to bring the cost of rentals down, to increase the number of homes that are available. But let me say it this way. When I started this administration, people were saying there's going to be a collapse of the economy. We have the strongest economy in the world. Let me say it again, in the world.
Although GDP last week was far short of expectations.
Oh, it wasn't. Look, GDP is still growing. Look at the response of the markets. Overwhelmingly positive. Overwhelmingly positive. And one of the reasons why people feel good about it not being as strong as it was before is they believe that the Fed's going to respond.
They hope they're going to get a rate cut.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, no president's had the run we've had in terms of creating jobs and bringing down inflation. It was 9% when I came to office. 9%. But look, people have a right to be concerned. Ordinary people, the idea that you bounce a check and you get a $30 fee for bouncing the check, I changed that. You can't charge more than $8 for that. Or your credit card, your late payment, $35. I mean, there's corporate greed going on out there, and it's got to be dealt with.
Yeah, so there was a number of lies in that interview that Joe Biden told, okay, bald-faced lies to CNN's face. Of course, they didn't fact-check him or care to correct him or challenge him or anything like that because he's a Democrat, so he never gets a challenge. Again, if Trump would have made the claim that when he got in office, right, that inflation was at 9% because of Obama, they would have been screaming, no, that's a lie. And Joe Biden just lied, right? He just claimed that inflation was at 9% when he got into office, and that's just simply not the case, okay? It is also not the case that Joe Biden is creating all these jobs, at least not in the private sector, because 25% of new jobs in 2023 that were created by the government, okay? And the reality of the economy is that it is slowing down. GDP growth from January through March, okay, compared to last year, is at 1.5%. It has declined. Coupled with inflation being at 3.9% in March, it seems like the economy is in a state of stagflation, which is a terrible situation for the economy to be in. So to help us make sense of the nonsense, Bidenomics and the economy, I have our friend at Noble Gold, Mr. Colin Plume, to help break down some of these economic numbers and help us understand what the hell is going on with the latest numbers in the economy.
I looked really detailed at March's inflation report. And there's, they break down every category in terms of inflation. One of the ones that stood out was frozen juice was up. The cost was up over 20%, and reminded me a little bit of I don't know if you ever saw that Trading Places movie with Eddie Murphy, and they bet against orange juice, frozen orange juice, and they sort of try to manipulate the market. But yeah, there's certain, it's a funny movie. There's probably people out there that know exactly what Mortimer. There's some people out there that know what I'm talking about. But when you go line item by line item through March is the one that I looked at really closely. You look at cost of certain goods have gone up, almost 20%, like juice, which, okay, so maybe you just don't buy that, right? But there's other things that are in there that are layered in there that are quite concerning, like auto insurance. Insurance in general has skyrocketed. Auto insurance for that month was up 8%. I know homeowners insurance across the board in most states has gone up double digits. And that's a hefty expense. And it's also a non-negotiable expense that you can't decide whether you want that item. So when you go through the inflation reports, it's really interesting and sort of telling what are some of the items that have really increased. And so that's why when you look at the numbers in terms of the economy, it is misleading. GDP is down, wages are up, but are wages up enough to cover that significant cost in the items that you have to buy? Beef costs were up, milk costs, eggs over the last year are up almost 30%. I mean, most people are going to buy eggs. That's a staple of a lot of people's diet. So there's things out there that are happening in terms of inflation that are dwarfing the increase in wages. And, because that's the one thing that Biden sort of talks about is low unemployment. and wage growth, but it's a combination of a few things. Is that, yeah, there is some wage growth in sectors where people are hiring. Are they jobs that are going to help you retire? Probably not. These are typically lower end jobs. We've seen a spike like in fast food. That's a really misleading statistic, that fast food, wages have gone up pretty dramatically. So I think that when you really look at the numbers in the economy, it's not as strong for everyone as what some of these baseline numbers look to be. And then you look at, costs of gasoline. A lot of those day-to-day costs that people have to have also gone up pretty dramatically. So overall, like with living and being able to be here in the US, it's becoming systemically more expensive than many other places in the world. I mean, you're seeing people fleeing the US for countries that they never would have 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago because of tax savings and the cost of living. I mean, who doesn't see those ads saying move to Belize or move to Panama or move to all these places? And when you look at the numbers, it's quite shocking, the cost of living in some of these countries, and the healthcare has gotten a lot better. I mean, things are changing in the world, but we're still in this bubble here in the US where our costs are still going up dramatically. Health insurance, I do business with a lot of health insurance agents. They just the health insurance goes up double digits every year. It's like clockwork. So when you analyze 5 years of double digit growth or percentage increases, you're looking at 50% more than you paid 5 years ago. Those are real numbers. So how does a normal person whose wages are not going up 50% over 5 years, how do they cover the cost of keeping themselves healthy?
Yeah. Look, I want to go back to what you're saying about people moving abroad. I was just laughing in my head because, we call those guys that do that passport bros. And I guess, also part of the reason is not just inflation when it comes to, food or housing or whatever, right? Also inflation when it comes to women. We call that hoflation.
Believe you me, I know it. I know some of these guys. I got some guys that are, the digital nomads, that everybody talks about. I know a lot of these guys, and they live in other places because they can find a partner there that is more of the traditional values that they want. They like that old school, how the US used to be, 40, 50 years ago. That's sort of what they're looking for in a partner. So yeah, I mean, it's on many different levels, but ultimately we're not keeping up with this idealistic view here in the United States that this is the best, living situation. So how does someone day to day navigate? If they're going to stay here, how do you navigate? And I think is you have to be willing to look at alternatives. You have to be willing to do things that other people aren't willing to do to continue to live here in the US, because this inflation thing that we have is not going anywhere. It's not like prices are going down anytime soon. I always tell people, when they go, oh, this is so expensive, it's like, it's not so expensive. That's the price. So, once they've set the price, that's it. The health insurance is not going cheaper. The cost of meat, it's not going down. That is the price. So whatever it is, it is. But you have to figure out how to sustain that living. So you need investments. You need to look at things that can keep up. So you have to be making 7, 10, 12% in the world out there to keep up with this, staggering inflation. And you're right. The Fed, promised lower interest rates, and people were excited about that. And a lot of the growth in the stock market was baked in because of the promise of this year having lower interest rates. And those promises are vanishing. They're not going to be able to lower rates because the Fed has a mandate to get inflation back to 2%. And so a lot of the growth in the stock market that we're seeing right now that people are really excited about are based on promises that were not delivered by the Fed.
Yeah, and I think that's why you're seeing the volatility now, especially in the growth sector where, they kind of, are banking on these low interest rates and the cost of money going down. However, it seems like that's not going to happen anytime soon. Okay. And, when you look at certain industries, again, like fast food prices are up 33% higher than 2019, right? In March. So 33% higher. You got grocery prices up 26% higher. And now you have traffic declining, okay, 3.5% in the first 3 months of 2024 compared to the same period of 2023 when it comes to fast food. McDonald's, they've said in their most recent earnings report that foot traffic is declining, right? You have states like California forcing these fast food restaurants to pay $20 an hour for labor, which also is contributing to the inflation, like he was talking about, when it comes to the increase in wages. I've been telling my audience, I was like, listen, it's not that I don't want people to get paid more, but you got to understand a lot of these increases in wages are coming as a result of government spending. Like, for example, I was reading an article about the U.S. job market. You know how Biden is bragging about the jobs numbers and low unemployment. Well, 25%, nearly 25% of all jobs created in 2023 came from the government. So he's basically just essentially rigging the job market by flooding all this cash from the Inflation Reduction Act, from the infrastructure bill, maybe some leftover COVID stimulus money as well, too. You're flooding all this cash into the market in order to create these jobs, these government jobs, these projects. And that is driving up wages because there's a demand for workers. And now that's going to also affect the private sector as well, too. So that's also fueling the wage inflation that is happening. And that's not good because that's contributing to overall inflation. So this is not something that is an organic result of the economy growing and the private sector growing. This is why we're also saying, these private corporations laying off a ton of workers. It's like, it doesn't make sense. The media is saying, well, the jobs report is so strong, there's so much demand for jobs, but it's like, okay, well, why are all these private companies laying off so many workers? It seems as if we may be in a recession when it comes to the private employment market, but the government is masking what's really happening overall with so much spending. And the spending has caught up with us at this point. Our fiscal outlook looks disastrous, okay? And our monetary policy certainly isn't helping either. But America's net debt has reached 96% of GDP. And the federal deficit averaging 9% of GDP over the past 5 years. But yet the politicians, they don't want to talk about slowing down spending. If Biden was honest, he should come out here and say, listen, we need to pause on all these projects, right? Like, we need to chill out on all this spending because the more that this money continues to circulate in the economy, I think this is why you're seeing inflation be so sticky, even though the feds have increased interest rates. So I think that a lot of this is driven by the government.
Agreed. And listen, the jobs, 25% of the jobs coming from government jobs, reminds me of a friend a few years ago who had a lazy son and basically just hired his son, right? I mean, that he was, it's like, you can create a job anywhere if you're in control of things, right? At the end of the day, like some of these job creators can do that and make things seem like they're much better than they really are. But I think what it comes down to, a lot of it, our problems are more systemic in that a lot of it has to do with our global outlook and the way that our partners, these countries that we would call partners for all these years, are looking at us now. They're not looking at us the same way they used to look at us. They're divesting from the US dollar. US treasuries, bonds in other countries' central banks have dropped dramatically. We used to be well over 70% in central banks all over the world 10 years ago. Now we're at 58%. So they're not holding our debt the way that they used to. They're not feeling comfortable with our debt the way that they used to. And that's because the world is looking at us and going, you guys have overspent. You don't have any money right now. We don't want to get caught holding the bag on some of these notes, that are basically, promises that you'll repay us. So there's an issue. I mean, there's a dramatic issue. I mean, Congress every 2 months goes back and they have to increase the spending limit. we're trillions and trillions of dollars in debt. So it's really a game of, when somebody can't pay their credit card, what happens? And I think that's why, you've seen this massive surge in gold over the last 6 months, is because when you own gold personally or as a central bank, there's no debt. You own it. It's a solvent asset. You're acquiring it yourself. And so people are tired of having so many instruments that they're investing into that are tied to debt. I mean, one of the classic things for years and years is that when you hit a certain age, you buy bonds. Well, today, I don't think people feel as comfortable holding bonds, which are basically debt of something, whether it's a corporation or a country or it's a local municipality. They're not feeling comfortable that they're going to get repaid. And so those bonds don't seem as safe as they used to be. So getting into solvent assets that you own by yourself, precious metals, are so unique in this environment, because every offering from investment point of view, from stocks to now there's all these fractional ways that you can buy things. These have really come to the forefront. They seem exciting and the marketing is cool, but really the thing that has a limited supply and is still desired. I mean, you look at, the gold report came out just talking about the world gold consumption. And, jewelry demand is still very strong all over the world. Medical use is skyrocketed in gold. But the one thing that really stood out for me with gold and silver is China's silver consumption in industrial last year was up 46% from the year before. And I think why that is that they're going to solar panels, they're going EV. There's so many technology silver components that are used. So it's striking when you look at the numbers of industrial uses for gold and silver and how much it's really taking over the world, that these metals are in high demand. And I think that's a big reason why we've seen gold really, really start to skyrocket. Silver still hasn't moved as much as what a lot of people thought it has, or where it's going to go. But silver is obviously a good opportunity. And then platinum and palladium, the two other precious metals we sell, are below $1,000. And palladium was well over $4,000 about 5 years ago. So there's a buying opportunity there. So I think it's really just an idea of a philosophy of buying assets that don't have any debt. So you feel like you got one thing in this vast, you got your house that probably has a mortgage, and you got some stocks where you're buying a little bit of a share of a company, but at least the gold and silver, you got something that and you can trust, and that it's gonna, stand the test of time.
Yeah, I don't understand how you can feel confident in the dollar with so much spending. I mean, it's been abused by our government with this idea that, hey, we could just print an unlimited amount of money. It doesn't matter. I mean, the Biden administration, I think they actually really do believe in modern monetary theory, which is this idea that deficits and debt, it doesn't matter. It does not matter as long as you are controlling for inflation. And that, fiscal policy should be the main form of essentially managing the economy, and that, hey, we can just tax it. We just tax the rich to control inflation. Well, how well is that working out? Like, it is very hard to pass any type of significant legislation to tax people more because it's extremely unpopular. Okay. I think that the economic policies of the Biden administration is tearing this country apart. It really is. I mean, we continue to spend money. I mean, the Congressional Budget Office forecasts that America's debt to GDP ratio will rise to over 166% over the next 30 years. Honestly, I think that's probably a low ball. I mean, considering how we want to keep spending all this money on wars, we refuse to cut back on entitlements. Again, these are things that, hey, I guess it's unpopular to do, but we have to have a real conversation about this stuff. Otherwise, I think that there is a threat to the dollar long term. And, this is why gold and silver is so important, right? Getting back to the main point. Yeah. A lot of people want to go into these safe haven assets because we just don't trust the government with our spending. It's just so reckless.
Yeah. And not to segue too much, but I do want to say there's probably a lot of people out there that are considering some gold item purchases for Mother's Day coming up here. And I will tell you this, don't think of your jewelry as an investment. It's nice, it's pretty, you can resell it, but people are, I did a long video on LinkedIn about Costco and gold, and people don't realize when you go to a pawn shop, the average spread, and this is the spread that they need, pawn shops need to stay in business. This isn't like them, and you could say maybe this is too much, but their average spread on items that they buy is 28 to 38% below the wholesale price.
Yeah.
So when you're buying this gold jewelry, or you're buying Costco gold, and then you got to go to a pawn shop and sell it, or you got to sell back that gold jewelry, keep in mind, you're going to lose 30% minimum on the back end. So if you're looking for a true gold investment and you want to hold it, it's not jewelry, it's what we do, coins, bullion bars, what the central banks are buying. So just keep that in mind. And I don't want to get a bunch of hate mail from mothers saying, I almost had some jewelry and then you talked me out of it. You talked my husband out of it because he saw your, I just want to set the right expectations of what you're buying. You're not buying an investment. Don't be fooled. If you want to buy an investment that's going to stay around and you're not going to get taken advantage of at a pawn shop, you want to buy what Noble Gold sells. The beauty behind what we sell, it's time tested. You're going to get it. People are going to buy it.
And it's physical. It's physical. This is a physical asset.
Yeah, it's physical. Yeah. And, with gold too, not to dive so much, but 14 karat, people buy 18 karat. The bars of gold that we sell are 24 karat. You're buying it's 0.999. It's as pure as you're going to get. So nobody can anywhere in the world, you take a bar of gold, they can weigh it, they can authenticate it, and then they're going to look at the spot price and go, here we go. Here's your price, right? With an 18 karat or 24 karat, you go to the wrong pawn shop. We got to melt it down. It's going to cost us this. It's the whole song and dance, right? Yeah. And next thing you know, your $4,000 gold chain is worth $1,800, right? Or less. And God forbid if you buy it from Tiffany's. Oh, even worse. The worst. And just so you know, I've bought stuff from there, but I know going into it, this is just for fun. This is for looks. This is pretty. Don't think you're going to get anything later on when you sell it. It's just not the way that it works. So just word to the wise, it's Mother's Day. And I know a lot of people are poking around the internet. Just keep that in mind that you're, as soon as you drive that baby off the lot, you're down 30% minimum.
Yeah. I'm not a mother, I'm not a father, but I'm just saying I would very much appreciate a gift of a gold bar, right? Yes. I think that
Correct.
I don't have any jewelry. I don't own anything. This is Amazon, right? So it's not like anything crazy or anything like that. So, if I buy some gold, it's probably going to be an investment, right? That's the way I like to spend my money. I don't like to spend my money on jewelry and, stuff like that. So I think you gave some good advice. I'm just saying I'll be happy with gold bars, for my birthday or something like that. If any of you guys want to, treat me or anything like that,
It's the gift that keeps on giving, right? It's not, it looks great. It's, it's transform. If you want to be a passport bro and you want to go to, Thailand or wherever you're is that what they're called? Passport bros?
Yeah. Passport bros.
Yeah. If you want to be one of those guys, you could go, you could flee, you could go anywhere in the world. That's the beauty behind these things. But we're in unique times because I think we've created too much in the financial market. We've created too much money. We've created too many instruments. I'm seeing now that the crypto market is being flooded with derivatives now. So you're basically throwing one of the riskier assets in the world, and then you're going to fractionalize it and make it even more risky. Look, the derivative market blew up our economy in 2008, 2009 with loans. And you can make an argument that those are, 100 times safer than crypto, depending on what you're putting your money into. But ultimately, I think that, we're going back to old school. That's what's happening now is that people are realizing a lot of these things. Listen, it's cool. You can invest in a share of a whiskey bottle from Japan. It's cool that you can invest in Jordans, but are you going to hang your hat? Is that how you're going to retire? You're not going to retire that way. That's not how people retire. People retire buying assets that have a limited supply and are in demand and that will be inflation proof. And that's what gold and silver, platinum, palladium do. That's it. Bottom line.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you look at the charts over the last year, the last 16 months, I mean, up 18%, 6 months, 1 year, 13.68%, 5 years, 80%, 20 years, 500%. I'm just saying, I tend to agree with you. I mean, you're not going wrong here in regards to, you know, how gold over time has, you know, been a pretty, you know, good asset to have at least some of your portfolio in.
Some of it. Yeah. We're not saying take the whole pie, right? Just take a slice. And I think that, you know, what we are seeing a lot right now, it's so interesting. This year, we've seen more people come back from their initial purchase of 2 or 3 years ago, which I find so fascinating because, you know, obviously we've gone on a run in gold and silver, but they are still buying it at the price of today. Central banks are still buying it at the price of today. So this year has been the most second and third buys since I started the company 8 years ago. The people are coming back. They're seeing the writing on the wall, and it's almost like they're doubling up on their insurance, right? That's what they're looking at. And I think it's been really telling. And also a heavy dose of confidence that clients are coming back to Noble Gold. And we appreciate that they're coming back for their second and third purchases. And I think it shows that we did a great job then. We keep in touch with them. And once you're a client of Noble Gold, we're always going to send you information. You can always call us if you have a question, which is the other thing, you know, in the market today is you want to make sure that the company's going to be around down the road when you're ready to make another purchase or making a sale or whatever you want to do. People are always still available to call us and ask questions. And you know, we don't have a $250,000 limit of like Charles Schwab. A lot of these companies, they don't even want to touch you unless you got $250,000.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have any of those limits in place. So, so it's exciting times. You know, old is new and new is old. But yeah, I mean, I think the oldest money that's ever been around is really making a push. And I think we're going to have a big splash this year. And I think we got more room to run. UBS came out. They think gold 2-3 years could double or triple. So I think it's pretty exciting where we're sitting right now.
Yeah, I think fiscal and monetary policy of the United States will probably help that as well too, as long as we continue to be so reckless. So thank you so much, Colin. I appreciate you coming on. Always a good friend of the show, helping to educate our viewers on the economy with your insights and your opinions. Is there any last thing that you want to say before we sign off?
We have a new master class with Kevin Sorbo talking about investing. He's if you don't know who he is, he was the guy that played Hercules. He's been an actor in Hollywood for 40 years. He's a brand ambassador of Noble Gold. So give us a call or, you know, check out our website. We have this master class. It's about 35 or 40 minutes long and talks about the economy, talks about money, de-dollarization. Really interesting. It's all video. So anyone that wants to check that out, the Kevin Sorbo masterclass, give us a call. We'll be happy to send you some information and so you can learn more about, you know, a good way. So if anyone's looking to really dive in and learn and educate themselves, we've partnered with Kevin Sorbo to create this class to give people more information.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on the show once again. And I will see you guys again. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective.